Hi everybody, thanks for joining me as we take a look at your weekend forecast from March 22nd through the 24th. And despite the fact that winter has felt like it's been over for really all winter, because it's been a weird winter, we are going to get a little bit of winter. Certainly it's felt like that the last couple of days. Man, it's been chilly out there, especially with the wind the last couple of days. That will continue today and actually really through the weekend. And in the middle of that, we are going to get a storm that is going to bring snow and some rain and a little bit of mix, mostly either snow or rain, to all of southern Vermont. And it could be a significant amount of snow in some spots, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the forecast. This is another tough call, much like the storm 2 weeks ago. Slightly different setup, and different things are going to happen, but tough in terms of the forecast could really go all over the place and would be a reasonable outcome for what's happening. Okay, first of all, let's set the stage. Here is our pretty strong southern storm that has developed in the southern jet stream. Here's our northern piece of energy. They are starting to come together, and you can kind of notice that the northern energy and the southern energy are kind of in a placement. This is a pretty good setup for a storm for us. They're going to come together a little late to give us a real whopper of a storm, and we're not really going to get a full latitude trough to kind of entirely develop, so this isn't going to be like a blockbuster, but it's going to have a lot of moisture. One of the things that happens both in March and with all this El Nino moisture across the southeastern United States, which we've had all winter, is that you get a lot of southern jet stream moisture involved in this, so that if you maintain snow, of course, lots of moisture can equal very heavy snow. Even though the storm won't be overly strong, it will, in terms of just the sheer how deep of a storm it is in terms of pressure wise and things like that, it will be have lots of moisture associated with it, and so it will snow pretty good when it does happen, and eventually it will kind of all come together well offshore, but at that point we're well past it. And also when you get these storms that are sort of coming together but aren't fully together, that is where we have all sorts of tricky issues with temperature profiles and exactly where the snow line is going to end up and how far north it moves, and of course just a degree or two difference in how that happens, or a little bit slower of a transition, and instead of getting 3 or 4 inches of snow in a spot, you get 10. So I'm going to give you a snowfall map eventually at the end of this, but I want you to take it with a grain of salt. We're going to talk about this many times overwards, but it is definitely a volatile situation in terms of what's actually going to happen. The fact that it's going to do something is not volatile. Here's again radar. You can see lots of moisture across Florida. Look at that line of storms associated with kind of what's there in a relatively strong, for at least southern jet stream energy-wise. And then, of course, we have some snow and a decent amount of moisture for a northern stream system here across the Great Lakes currently as well. And they are coming together. Precipitation will hold off. We could see some flurries this evening, but it really will hold off until after midnight before any accumulating snow. So if you've got evening plans tonight, you're fine. Tomorrow is when the issues will be. Tomorrow morning, I think just about everywhere it's a little slick tomorrow morning. Conditions will stay bad in the areas that get more snow, which is mostly going to be Rutland and Windsor counties, but certainly northern half of Windham and Bennington County could also be a little slippery through most of the day. The further south you get, the better. And this is going to be a little bit less elevation dependent and a little bit more north-south dependent, I think, in terms of snow line. It's more of a dynamic system, so it's not going to be quite as dependent on elevation. It's sort of an overrunning precipitation situation more than the storm 2 weeks ago, which was really kind of just about where the rain-snow line was on the hills. There'll be some elevation dependence, but it'll be more associated, I think, with north-south kind of issues. So, which is a little different, and especially for a March storm, a little bit different. But cold air is definitely in place across the Northeast. Lots of teens this morning. I had 17 at my house when I woke up this morning. So cold, and to our north, we've got even more cold air across Quebec, some of the coldest air of the year here across central Ontario. Really Ontario, not so much Quebec, but yeah, quite cold. We are tapping that moisture, or that a little bit, just enough to keep us cold. You can see the warm temperatures to our south that is sort of surging north, and that's that clash of temperature and that overrunning of the warm over the cold that is going to give us our precipitation situation here. Let's take a look at this. Is a model's interpretation. One model. So do not take this as gospel, but it does give an idea. So here's this evening. You can see a few flurries may make their way in here. And then this is about, now we're talking overnight. You start to get that first wave, and then as things start to fill in, okay, we've got a little bit of mixed precipitation, and then you can kind of see things move north, and then they don't really move. Now, how far north that line gets will really depend on how much snow. It does sort of snap back to maybe snow on the backside, not much accumulation on that backside. But essentially, things are wrapped up by tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon tomorrow, we're wrapping up with precipitation. But that's essentially the trajectory. So a little bit of snow for everybody on the front end, and then we relatively quickly, right around, especially the Massachusetts border, we change to rain, and then some sleet will definitely get mixed in some areas. With this system with the overrunning, although not a ton of sleet, it's mostly going to be rain or snow. And the question is exactly where does that line set up, and that will determine obviously how much snow we get. And this model is one. Some models bring the rain well up into north of Rutland on the more northern end. Some keep it pretty close to the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. This one kind of brings it right to the county lines, basically, in Rutland and Windsor. I think this is probably the closest to what I'm thinking, but I don't. This is this just for information. This is the NAM 3K model. But this is the one I think is closest to what I'm thinking is going to happen. But it's not a guarantee that this is what happens. And that's part of the problem with the snowfall forecast. So let's take a look at those snowfall totals. Again, take these with a grain of salt. You can see a wide range. I think I'm confident in the northern part of this and the southern part of this, right? The rest of it, not so much. So less than an inch of snow. I'm pretty confident that most of Massachusetts, basically, and southeastern New Hampshire are all less than an inch of snow. Up to Albany, only about coating before you change over to basically all rain here. 1 to 2 slushy inches that mostly gets washed away. That's for areas kind of Bennington probably falls in that, maybe 2 or 3 in Bennington. I think Brattleboro definitely falls inside of that. 2 to 4 rapidly increasing as we get towards the southern half of Bennington and Windham County. Probably like a place like Manchester is probably on the 3 to 4 inch range, 2 to 3 to 4 inch, somewhere in that range probably. A place like probably even up into like Newfane is like that. Springfield still falls probably in that 2 to 4, closer to 4 or 5 maybe in Springfield. Bellows Falls is more in that like 3 to 4 inch range. Again, these numbers could shift north or south, and that would obviously make a huge difference. I think for a chunk of us in kind of the northern half of those counties, in Windsor, Windham, and in Rutland, Bennington County, my goodness, if I could only remember the counties, we're talking 3 to 6 inches of snow. So this would be sort of me here in Londonderry. I think we're closer to that 4, 5, 6 inches of snow range there. I think like Stratton kind of falls in that. Way up high on the mountain, you might get a little bit more enhancement there. So you can, if you're up at above 2,000 feet, you can add 2 or 3 inches of snow, not 3 or 4, but 2 or 3 inches of snow to this. So as you head up into Rutland and Windsor counties, your totals go up even more. Where you get into the purple, this is all snow, at least 7 inches, and then you get some, Killington I think does really well out of this, probably 1.5 feet of snow. I wouldn't be surprised at all for Killington to get that. Mount Holly is like kind of the line between that 5 to 8 to 7 to 10. I think there will be some sleet that makes it up to there. I think Rutland is mostly snow with maybe a little bit of sleet mixed in at times, but I think Rutland does pretty well out of this with 6, 7, 8 inches of snow there, maybe even 9, and then like I said, the higher elevations of the greens as you head further north, and I feel pretty confident about this 10 to 14 inch range. So yeah, but it would not be surprising at all for this to shift 20 miles, 30 miles south, which brings those 10 to 14 totals close to, say, like a place like Weston. It's definitely possible that you could get there. Certainly Okemo could find their way into that. Even Stratton could find their way into like 7 to 10, 8, 9 inches of snow. I think the sleet line will at least make it to Stratton, but yeah. Or we could shift north, in which case this 1 to 2 inch range could come all the way up to just about where the 3 to 6 inch line is here. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. And then just the very highest elevation probably gets that 7 to 10 inches, and you might even change to a little bit of sleet in a place like Killington. So it's a tough storm. Really close call. And I don't want to pretend that I'm more accurate or more confident than I am. So you see these numbers here. This is my best guess. But if you get a little bit more or a little bit less than that, I wouldn't be surprised either. And really, there's no, except for actually seeing what happens on the ground when it happens, there's not going to be a way to tell you better than this what's going to happen. You should be prepared for snowy travel everywhere down to the Massachusetts border, essentially tomorrow morning. And I think certainly the rest of the day, except for right along the Massachusetts border, you should be prepared that it could still be slushy on the roads if this lingers a little bit more. You might end up with more rain, but we're going to have to just kind of wait and see what happens. I wish I had better more. I wish I was more confident. But in terms of power outage threat, basically this is the kind of snow, more than 6 inches of this, and you start to get problematic. Some of those areas that could see 10 to 14 could be a little fluffier in the snow. You might be okay actually in those. This might be one of those times where if you get a foot of snow, you're okay because it was just cold enough for that to happen. But if you get if you're in that 6, 7, 8 inches of snow range, hopefully the sleet knocks some of the snow off the trees, but definitely slight issues here. Moderate, I think, problems for the southern parts of Rutland and Windsor County. If you're up kind of in the northern part of those counties, significant power outages are definitely a threat. So just be aware of that. I think everybody should be somewhat prepared to lose power, particularly in more northern parts of the forecast area. Should be prepared to lose power. What does this look like in terms of the actual forecast? Today, we're chilly. It's sunny. Nice day. Wintry mix. We're just putting wintry mix because it's a catch-all for what's going to happen tonight. Temperatures will be, we'll start off cold. Everybody starts off with snow. Some of us mix before daybreak. I think a lot of us are mixing during the morning tomorrow. That's probably when the rain snow line pushes furthest north about 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then things start to collapse back down towards more snow, but we're basically wrapping up as we head towards early to middle afternoon. We're cloudy overnight. Temperatures chilly again, 20s. Sunday is nice, but chilly. Temperatures in the 30s. And then we cool back down again, chilly on Sunday night into Monday. So yeah, winter has not completely abandoned us, although we are definitely going to warm up as we head towards next week. We are going to get some warmer temperatures. Today and Sunday bring quiet and chilly weather. Tonight into tomorrow's storm brings snow, especially to northern parts of Rutland and Windsor counties. Saturday morning will bring difficult travel, except near the Massachusetts border. Snow totals range from a slushy inch to over a foot near Killington, and accumulating snow begins after midnight and continues through Saturday afternoon in terms of timing. So basically tomorrow morning is the tough travel day. If you have any questions, certainly you can reach out to me. Again, once you see what happened, we're going to kind of have to wait and see what happens as we wake up tomorrow morning in some regards. But be prepared. This could be the biggest snow of the winter in some spots. Definitely possible for that. So yeah, why not? It's just the way it goes. I wanted to give a quick shout out to my patrons to help support what I do here at the West River Weather Guy. I really appreciate all of their help. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel before, I would encourage you to do so. Helps make sure you don't miss any videos. I will be back on Monday with a look at next week's forecast, which is much less windy. So that'll be good.